All right. I think we're live. Push one in the chat if you can hear me. All right, got a confirmation. Thank you for that confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 592, Black Pandemic Talks. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. Doc in the description beneath the video for you to follow along with. If you want to engage in this discussion, there'll be a link in the chat for you to click on. When you click on the link, make sure you raise your hand so that one of us can acknowledge you and advance you to the panel. We give a shout out to the people who showed up first. Ty City, what it do? Katie King, peace to you as well. All right, let's just get started, man. I'm not going to waste too much time. Share my screen real quick and get started with the first item on the docket. First item on the docket is from Nicole Ali. Copitra emerging as potential pandemic treatment. Okay, let's hear what Nicole Ali has to say.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to give some information that I was just learning a few days ago about a drug called duvelisib, aka Copitra, and how this could be used as a potential treatment for COVID-19. So let's start off here. We have the therapy known as Copitra or duvelisib. I'm going to use those words interchangeably. So, if you feel some kind of way, just bear with me, okay? So this is the clinical trials website. I'm not going to go through the whole site that they have for this drug because the link is in the description box. You can check that out. The collaborator with Washington University School of Medicine is Veristem, and I'll go into this company a little bit later. But they have the drug duvelisib. It's a phase 2 trial. And what I want people to recognize is the start date here is June 30th, 2020. Just a few days ago, they started. It says it's a pilot study, but duvelisib has been used for many other cancers and leukemia, as well as lymphoma, many other diseases that people are suffering from. Their primary completion date or the end of the time they will collect samples is July 31st, 2021. And when they wrap up everything and analyze all the data, they're projecting that for December 31st, 2021. So for people thinking that you can get a treatment developed within 3 to 4 months or 3 to 6 months or even preposterous, because this is one treatment that is not really talked about as much on the mainstream media, as much as I've seen, as much as I would like to see. Remdesivir has been talked about quite a lot, but this one hasn't really gotten that much attention. And this one deals more, duvelisib or Copitra, deals more with cells that are highly proliferative, such as cancer cells, right? So it is potentially beneficial to these patients with advanced COVID-19 infection. So duvelisib will be given orally by a duvelisib suspension. So this is a pill that they will put into suspension form, and it will be administered through a nasogastric, orogastric tube. Then they will study the patient samples by peripheral blood draws, and they have each day they will screen those patients during the study. The time frame for the study is going to be 28 days, and they also have criteria down here listed, which is usually the longest part of a trial when they have it on the website. This whole section here is what they use to include you in the study, all this blue that you see. So you need to have a positive test of COVID-2, which is confirmed by reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction, and they collect that in the upper or lower respiratory tract. And then it's verified by a qualified laboratory such as the CDC or the FDA. And they have many other reasons that they give for including you in the study. If you have disease manifestations such as the chest imaging with more than 50% lung involvement, respiratory failure, shock, cardiac dysfunction, and so forth, all of these things are reasons for being included. The exclusion criteria, which is very common, that is very short. This is the exclusion criteria they have in blue. If you have known allergies or intolerance to duvelisib or other PI3K inhibitors. So PI3K is a very large phosphatidylinositol-3 kinase signaling pathway that affects many other proteins and enzymes within the cell proliferation, cell differentiation, cell migration, cell invasion, those types of functions of a cell. We study PI3 kinase in cancer, but PI3 kinase also has been found to have regulatory mechanisms for immunity. There's a connection between immunity. So that's why they want you to know for certain. So if you go to the doctor and you don't know if you have intolerance or allergies to some of these things, you need to ask them by these words, because every doctor knows what PI3 kinase is, what AKT is, what MAP kinase is, RAF, MEK, ERK, all these types of these acronyms for signaling pathways. They know what they are. And I'll go into a few in a minute. So they also say if you have a known or suspected active viral infection, virologic testing is not required unless infection is suspected, okay? If you're pregnant and are breastfeeding, you are excluded. Any uncontrolled incurrent illness that would put the patient at greater risk or limit compliance with study requirements, in the opinion of the investigator, you are excluded. So there aren't, like I said, there aren't many things to exclude you, but there are many things that you can read here that I didn't go through. They also have the contact information of the principal investigator, Dr. John D. Percio from United States in Missouri. And we also have, if we go to duvelisib here, this link is also in the description box. So this has come from the National Laboratory of Medicine, National Library. I am just messing up today. Bear with me, y'all. National Library of Medicine, the National Center for Biotechnology Information, NCBI. So when I want to know something about a chemical, I look it up on PubMed. And PubMed gives me information about the research that's been done on that chemical. And sometimes I want to know more information. So then I go to PubChem. And PubChem is just publications of chemicals. And this is also helpful when you want to know the safety and hazardous effects of a chemical or drug. So you go there and they'll tell you everything. They give you the health hazards and all that. The chemical safety summary data sheet is here, the structure, the PubChem, oh, my bad, let's go back up here. PubChem always has a chemical identification number, and this is duvelisib's chemical identification number. And this is just universal. They give the molecular weights, they give different dates, they give you what it does. It's orally bioavailable, highly selective and potent small molecule inhibitor. They give you everything you really need to know. If you want to know more about liver toxicity, or you want to see this in a drug bank, then you can go look that up. And if we switch to a different path, which is finance, because in order to conduct a clinical trial, in order to use these drugs and develop these drugs, money has to be involved somewhere. And it's always good to look outside of the standard wheelhouse and see what other people are talking about in regards to, this topic, which is Duvelisib. They say here, this article from MarketWatch was published May 7th this year from Veristem Incorporated. They talk about what their company does. They talk about this drug is, going to be going into clinical trials. They're talking about what it's doing with these different signaling pathways, as you see here. As I said, I'm not going to go into detail. This link is in the description box. You can check that out. But also they go into the phase 1 trial, phase 1 investigator sponsored study, which is a trial. The frame is called FRAME. And this was done in patients with KRAS mutation, advanced solid tumors, including ovarian cancer and several others. They talk about how it was presented at AACR. They did a virtual meeting this year, and they presented defacitinib in patients with KRAS mutations. And defacitinib is very close to Duvelisib as far as its apparently as far as its potency and the different signaling pathways that it affects. So usually the way these drugs work is they bind to an important molecule within that signaling pathway, and that molecule cannot bind to another molecule in the chain of activities that should occur. So if you think about like a domino effect, well, if you have dominoes set up and you tip one domino off, you assume that the whole domino display that you set up, everything's going to fall down in sequence. But if you put a piece of cardboard in the middle of this display and the last domino hits that cardboard, well, that stops the chain, that stops the sequence. So you don't have the end of that sequence occurring. What was going to happen, maybe the last domino that fell was going to fall into, I don't know, some water or something. So that doesn't happen. And that's one thing that these drugs do. They block that signaling pathway. Some drugs are very selective, like these drugs, where they block several signaling pathways, meaning there are several pieces of cardboard in between the domino setup, the domino display. And they are looking for a specific amino acid or a specific protein structure that they bind to. And so others are not as selective. They just, they bind everywhere. And that's where you can have, if the drug is bioavailable, you could potentially have higher risk for side effects that are adverse, right? So this is how these drugs work. And it's important for people who are in finance to clearly look at drugs that are going to be on the market potentially. And so I just wanted to bring this information to you all. I hope that it was helpful. I hope that we're able to look at other drugs besides just remdesivir. I know that everyone's talking about remdesivir. As you can see here, there are articles all the way across from a few days ago, a day ago, a few hours ago, that are talking about remdesivir, and that's fine. If they feel that remdesivir is a molecule that is more broad spectrum as an antiviral medication that can be used, then that's okay. But we still have to remember that there are other drugs on the horizon that may be as beneficial or even more beneficial. So I hope this was helpful. I'll end it there. You let me know what you think in the comments.
All right, that was Nicole Ali breaking down Copetra, and so which is based on a cancer drug that already exists, but the phase 1 has already started June 30th, and so a lot of people or some people have been saying, well, this is fake. This is not this. Pharmaceutical companies aren't doing all these trials for nothing. Okay, they're testing for a reason. What we know about COVID-19 is that it does mutate, and so they have to get ahead of it first before they can actually, declare that it's been defeated. They have to go through trials. Now, trials involve, human testing as well as even theoretical on animals. But in this case, they have figured out that a pre-existing drug could actually be repurposed for COVID. And so this is where we are right now. Okay. And shout out to Nicole Ali for posting that on her channel. So make sure y'all go subscribe to Nicole Ali. We got Nicole 11 on the panel.
Hey, Mike. Hey, what's going on, man? That was a great little bit right there.
Yeah.
Give me some really good stuff on how these drugs are out here making some changes and where the advances are going. Because a lot of people don't really know, and it's a lot of scientific, but yet I think it's the key thing is that there's this progress being made in this area. So we should be up on that as well. Because I think the information pathway that's really coming down in so many ways here in this country about COVID and about what's going on. This has been really bad, but to get good information is a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. And Nicole works in that field, so she understands what the ramifications are that go on with testing and things of that nature, and actually research too. Research is really important. Many melanated people, at least in this space, would say, "Oh, well, this is all malarkey." Well, you think what you want to think. We have people in the field that are actually doing this type of stuff. Nicole Ali, as well as Dr. Phoenix and Super Triz, as well as Alex. What's Alex's name? His screen name on in the Manosphere.
I don't know, but we got a few people, so it's we need to have good information. That's the key, and I think this is what's being offered, because a lot of information that's just out here is just bad, just terrible. Mm-hmm. People do not know what's going on, and they have some bad thoughts in their head as far as what's going on. I was listening to Cuomo today, a governor, and he was concerned. He was talking about how in the city people are going to these open bars and stuff and not wearing masks, and we've had very few number of deaths over the last few weeks. It looks like we've really kind of flattened out, but people are running now from those COVID states, coming in New York and other places where they think it's safe. And we're going to start seeing numbers going up again. So the governor's like, so I'm trying to open up slowly, but if I start seeing what I continue to see, and the police and these guys are not on their game as far as closing a lot, keeping, the standards that we have laid out in line, I'm going to shut this mother down again. So we're worried, because there's a lot more people coming into the area that are coming from other areas that had high infections and so forth. And we've been successful in handling this problem, especially from the initial bomb that we got hit with. Now the governor doesn't want to see those deaths. So he wants to see these things consistently come down. And the information is the most important thing. And he said Dr. Fauci and these other people have the key information. People need to be listening to that instead of the other crazy stuff that's being spouted out here that people are buying into, that are just not true and are dangerous and could put your lives in danger. And if not your life, someone else's.
Yeah. I was just going to mention that Alex is Don Calypso.
No, okay.
Yeah, Don Calypso works in that field as well. And so, you have all of these people who are involved in this type of stuff, and then you still have people who want to contribute it. So we got MOT on the panel. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Chilling, man, chilling.
MOT, what's up, baby?
What's going on? I seen somebody passing around Facebook like they was trying some trials out in like England. I'm like, man, look.
I can believe it. I mean, they have a different system. They probably have something that's pre-existing. In terms of a vaccine or something like, and medication for that matter. So yeah. Let me jump to this next item on the docket from USA Today. FDA expands list of hand sanitizers to avoid due to menthol risk with methanol risk with being recommended for recall. So I don't use hand sanitizers like that. I only use soap-based ones, but all the alcohol-based ones, man, I'm not rocking with those at all.
That's something specific that happened here, Mike. That all these ethanol and methanol-based hand sanitizers actually came out there because there was like a shortage of alcohol for a while, which is 70% to 80% of what most hand sanitizers were. So when they started using like the corn out, that's what ethanol is. They started using those type of things to substitute for that, knowing full well they would be the first to be out on the market, and now they're kind of removing them all. I was like, nah, man, these people should go to jail for doing that.
Yeah.
They just did this stuff to make a quick buck, and I already knew. I'm like, who the hell would suggest rubbing corn alcohol on somebody's skin? I'm like, dude, you could poison somebody like that.
Yeah.
But they just started recalling them all because they started showing up at truck stops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are the places, that didn't run out of them. And I'm like, man, and the stuff was like green and stuff. I'm like, man, what is this?
Yeah.
And it's like,
just wash your hands with soap, man.
Yeah.
It's funny. I went down, to the gas station down, near my, my neighborhood, and it's funny. It's all white area, basically, or mostly is, and a few blacks and a few Latinos. But here you got the Arabs there as well. I just want to say that. So over there in Scarsdale, Arabs up in here too. The Arab corner store, the Arabs up in here. But they're at the gas station. But they were selling, isopropyl, alcohol, the stuff that, the real, the real deal stuff. And I bought a couple bottles of those, and that's basically what I clean my hands with. And that's what you're supposed to use if you're going to use anything. But that ethanol, I heard about all that, and ethyl alcohol, not the move. I mean, that's just not the move. I mean, you could damn near drink that shit. Isopropyl, you can't. So pretty crazy. Pretty crazy what was going on out here. But you see, that's the misinformation and all the other crap that's out here that people just don't know. And that adds to the problem.
Yeah. Talk show radio host. And that the toothpaste that you bought from Alex Jones would protect you from coronavirus. I'm like, they didn't even try to lock that dude up or nothing. They like sent out some warning from like the FDA. I'm like, no, this person is a fraud and a clown. They should be in prison. We shouldn't be warning people about this type of stuff. Ridiculous.
But Alex Jones will sell whatever he can. He'll sell whatever he can.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, let me move on to the next item on the docket. All right, next item on the docket is from the Boston Globe. Looking for clues to the spread of coronavirus in mass, try the toilet. We covered something like this similar before. I'll read the first couple paragraphs. With residents fervently hoping Massachusetts can avoid a flare-up on the deadly coronavirus, officials are now on high alert for signs of an uptick of infections. One unusual place they are monitoring people's toilets. The Massachusetts Water Resources Authority says it's analyzing the sewage from eastern Massachusetts at the Deer Island treatment plant through the end of the year. The idea is that studying the wastewater could provide an early warning system tracking trends and potentially predicting a second wave of COVID-19, the disease caused by the coronavirus, the authorities said in a recent statement. The coronavirus pandemic, which has swept across the world, has killed more than 8,100 people in Massachusetts. The outbreak reached its peak here in spring and is now subsiding. But dozens of other states, particularly in South and West, are now grappling with their own surges of cases and deaths. So we've covered this sort of thing before. I'm not going to go into all of this here, but you know, people's toilets, you know, guys dropping mega bombs in there and spreading COVID everywhere. Yeah, this was bound to happen. I'm surprised that they had not thought about this at the very beginning and not so much now in July, right? Should have been talking about this back in January. I don't know. I don't know what the analysis as to why they wait so late to look for testing water in terms of a treatment plant. This should have been done back in January.
Mike, I got a question. So are they saying that this stuff, I know that's wastewater, but could it actually be waterborne, like faucet water, or?
They can find it in the water. They could find it, I guess, pathogens.
Oh, okay.
When you take a dump, it's in there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. You know, guys going around blowing up people's toilets, man, passing that around, man, not washing their hands. A lot of nasty cats out here, man.
They're even saying it's in the fumes.
Yeah.
So they've heard that people have gotten it from ventilation, where one person has blown up a spot, gotten into the ventilation system, gone into other people's apartments, and they've gotten it this way. So it's in the fumes. So these nasty people in these gyms and stuff just blowing shit up with the dropping these COVID dumps. The fumes itself can get you. So. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, man, this is, and we're seeing that it's having really, this is a strange joint, man. This thing moves differently than what a lot of people really are prepared to really deal with, and that's why this thing is quite dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was once a great movie. Now it's turned out to be a COVID case. So, all right, this is from the New York Times. Older children spread the coronavirus just as much as adults, large study finds. In the heated debate over reopening schools, one burning question has been whether and how efficiently children can spread the virus to others. A large new study from South Korea offers an answer. Children younger than 10 transmit to others much less than adults do, but the risk is not zero. And those between the ages of 10 and 19 can spread the virus at least as well as adults do. Wow. The findings suggest that as schools reopen, communities will see clusters of infections take root who children of all ages, several experts cautioned. I fear that there has been this sense that kids just won't get infected or don't get infected in the same way as adults, in that, therefore, they are almost like a bubbled population, said Michael Osterholm, an infectious disease expert at the University of Minnesota. There will be transmission, Dr. Osterholm said. What we have to do is accept that now and include that in our plans. Several studies from Europe and Asia have suggested that young children are less likely to get infected and to spread the virus. But most of these studies were small and flawed, said Dr. Ashish Jha, director of the Harvard Global Health Institute. The new study is very carefully done. It's systematic and looks at a very large population. Dr. Josh said. It's one of the best studies we've had to date on this issue. Other experts also praised the scale and rigor of the analysis. South Korean researchers identified 5,700 people who were the first to report COVID-19 symptoms in their household between January 20th and March 27th when schools were closed, and then traced the 59,000 contacts of these index cases. They tested all of these household contacts of each patient, regardless of symptoms, but only tested symptomatic contacts outside the household. The first person in the household to develop symptoms is not necessarily the first to have been infected. And the researchers acknowledge this limitation. Children are also less likely than adults to show symptoms. So the study may have underestimated the number of children who set off the chain of transmission within their households. Still, experts said the approach was reasonable. It is also from a place with great contact tracing done at the point interventions were being put in place, said Bill Hanaj, an epidemiologist at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Children under 10 were roughly half as likely as adults to spread the virus to others, consistent with other studies. That may be because children generally exhale less air and therefore less virus-laden air, or because they exhale that air closer to the ground, making it less likely that adults would breathe it in. Interesting.
What?
And I guess that makes sense from a height perspective, right? Even so, the number of new infections seeded by children may rise when schools reopen, the study author cautioned. Young children may show higher attack rates when the school's closure ends, contributing to community transmission of COVID-19, they wrote. Other studies have also suggested that the large number of contacts for school children who interact with dozens of others for a good part of the day may cancel out their smaller risk of infecting others. The researchers traced the contacts of only children who fell ill. So it's still unclear how efficiently asymptomatic children spread the virus, said Caitlin Rivers, an epidemiologist at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but the gist of all this is that reopening schools, not a good idea. Not a good idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah, everywhere is. Who got sent should have been spending all this time trying to make an online kind of program for their school. I can't imagine 5, 6, 8, 9, 1,200 people gathering in these classrooms, man. They have way more than enough time to get this stuff under control. I mean, this stuff isn't that hard to present the actual materials from Zoom or StreamYard or something.
No, they have to invest in distant learning. They have to. You know, you want to get recess? Well, go take your ass in your backyard or something like that. But in terms of, learning, this sort of resiliency should have had contingency planning a year and a half ago. You knew that something was, they should have been planning for this since 2008.
Should have been planning for this a long time. Bill Gates and all these guys are talking about it. But at the end of the day, you haven't planned for it. What bothers me more than anything else is just not even so much the planning, but now we kind of know at least some of what we're dealing with, and we still can't coordinate anything that's really sensible or making a lot of sense. I find this very disturbing.
I mean, because everybody better bring their own level of freedom to the table. I mean, this is something the education secretary should have said. Look, while y'all are closed down across the country, y'all are mandated. If you want to get any type of federal dollars, it will mandate that you would have a distance learning program. That would have been a very simple way to actually, solve this problem. That way, the people could have kept working, not get furloughed and all that kind of stuff. So
absolutely,
you're right on. The Chinese have done a very good job with this as well, with educating their children online and so forth. They've got a really good thing going on. And others are doing it well, Koreans as well. There's stuff out there that shows how to do this. I don't know, Mike. I find this crazy. The leadership of this is a total failure from the top. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's frustrating because all the money that they spend on, tax breaks for big corporations and whatnot, that stuff could have been easily used for infrastructure purposes in a pandemic like this. The main thing that they're lacking on is internet connectivity, man. They just don't have enough infrastructure resources for all these people that need to be learning from home and people who are going to be working from home. Many of the ISPs like Verizon and Comcast had to step it up. They didn't build the infrastructure to have everybody online. They just built it, for 50% capacity, not for 100% capacity. So
this is why it should have been in the hands of the municipalities to provide internet, not private corporations.
Mhm.
The issue already would have been solved, but they also have things in place where municipalities can't create their own Wi-Fi networks for their citizens inside their actual counties. So again, just some more government regulation you can knock down to get everybody connected. I mean, the internet connectivity should be like your analog at this point. Internet connectivity should be treated as such.
Yeah, it should be treated just like water and gas.
Yeah.
You can't turn it off in the winter.
Yeah.
And you can't turn it off during a pandemic. I don't know, man. It's hard to understand how these people get elected and how these people get jobs in situations like this, and they can't even get this right.
Incredible. It's incredible. And like we, in our area, well, Verizon and all that, they have the internet, and they apparently. So I found out now that they have to keep it on. So I guess they can cut your phone service or something. I guess if they want to do that, but they cannot they cannot disconnect your internet. That right now is like a critical utility apparently. So they're dealing with this as a utility.
Yeah.
Because that's what it should have been treated as the entire time.
Yeah. It's essential. It's an essential utility. And so, because many senior people do have devices that connect to the internet because they're IoT based, right? And so you cut the internet off, and next thing you know, their pacemaker or something like that can't connect out, can't call their doctor because, or can't reach out to their doctor or their institution of choice because ISP decided to cut the internet service. No, you're not cutting that, man. You're gonna eat that bill. That's all that is. But to MOT's point, like you said, you shouldn't get any federal dollars unless you comply.
Absolutely.
That's policy. That's policy talk. I don't know if the hood servitors really understand that.
No, I mean, they're quite okay with celebrating the breaking of posse comitatus by having secret police end up in cities.
Mm-hmm.
But they're for small government, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They talk about small government, but they embrace that. They embrace them coming into your home and doing all that. These guys, they're cool.
Non-violent protesters. I mean, they
non-violent.
They usually up black people's ass all the time, but these are white folks that are doing shit too.
Well, white folks saying, listen, you Negroes go for that. Y'all go for that kind of crap. We ain't playing that here. That's what they're saying. So, anyway, go ahead.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Next item on the docket is from Bloomberg. Johnson & Johnson aims to achieve 1 billion COVID vaccines, CFO says. Let's hear what they have to say. Fair use.
The vaccine. Can you please give us the best insight you can and sort of where you are as we're expecting some data from your phase 1 vaccine soon?
Sure, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Since we've announced our lead candidate for the vaccine on March 30th, we've made great progress. So very shortly here in the next few weeks, we'll have our preclinical data published in a very prestigious scientific journal, but we have so much conviction and confidence based on that data that we're able to move into trials for humans starting next week, next Wednesday to be specific. It's going to be better than 1,000 people, ranging from the ages of 18 all the way to 65 and beyond. So the most vulnerable population. We'll also be studying it as a single dose regimen, as well as a prime plus boost regimen. So some really good options there. We're also in discussions with the NIH to see if we can be possibly and responsibly begin our phase 3 data and trials at the end of September. So that would also be ahead of timelines, and that would measure obviously the vaccine's effectiveness. So we're working 24/7 to be part of the solution to address COVID-19.
Sure.
Mr. World, good morning. Guy Johnson in London. You're going to do it on a non-profit basis, not for profit basis. Can you explain to me kind of what that in reality actually means?
Yes, good question, guys. So we're currently working through our cost structure. We think we've got a good handle on that. It really is going to be dependent on the demand that comes through. So we've got a firm agreement in place with BARDA here in the U.S., but we're also working with the European Union, the Gates Foundation, other major countries to determine what that not-for-profit price will be. As you can imagine, the denominator is the units that go into that cost will be a big driver of that. But we think it'll be very competitive. It's, again, not-for-profit. And we've got so much transparency around that we are willing to have that audited by one of the major accounting firms to make sure that people fully understand what not-for-profit means in this case.
Well, and you kind of just mentioned it, sort of what the input costs are going to be. And I'm wondering kind of as you're moving forward with the vaccine and thinking about scaling up, what are you missing? What's going to cost you the most money? What are the sources or stuff that you need the most of?
So it really is, I'd say, almost 50-50 split in terms of the development cost, the scientific cost to do the research, as well as then the additional manufacturing capacity. We have a great facility in Leiden, Netherlands that has a few bioreactors. We've complemented that capacity with contract manufacturers here in the U.S. that we're very excited about, really good partnerships, off to a good start there. And so it will be dependent upon the demand that not only the U.S., but many other countries across the globe tell us that they're going to need in terms of vaccinations.
Joe, there are some that want to go about this in an underhand way. There's been a big story that has broken this afternoon. The UK authorities have accused Russia of trying to steal details on vaccines from key companies, potentially such as yours. Have you had any problems? Have you had any issues with security around your vaccine development program?
So, you know, Guy, the news is just breaking, as you mentioned. I'll speak more generally as opposed to having a statement about any particular incident. But we take cybersecurity very serious, have for a number of years. It's on the forefront of not just the management team's mind here, but also our board of directors, and we provide them regular reviews.
But I think to pivot off of that, and I think what a natural segue is, Joe, is that everyone wants this vaccine. They want it now,
Yes.
They want it fast. And we see sort of different governments tying up with different pharmaceutical companies. And it raises the question on who gets the vaccine first. Like if you wind up making an agreement with someone in the European Union versus the US or vice versa, like how do you protect who you give it to?
Yeah, so we're working through that, Alex, right now to produce as many vaccines as possible. You probably heard Paul Stoffels talk today on our earnings call specifically that we should be in a position to have hundreds of millions of vaccines throughout the early part of next year with the goal of achieving 1 billion vaccines. So our abilities, in addition to those of some of our competitors, we think positions the overall, I'll say, global marketplace in pretty good position. And the fact that we've got many shots on goal bodes very well for both the industry and society.
Joe, you also make medical equipment, and that medical equipment is used in elective surgeries. Many of those elective surgeries have been cancelled, and we're watching what is happening in the Sun Belt in the United States. How is the kind of the uncertainty in regions like Florida and Texas buffeting your business? How much visibility do you have?
We've got really good visibility. So we're relying on the IHME model, but also we've complemented what was really our sole source at the end of March and early April to information from UCLA, MIT, and other prestigious institutions. I think probably the most valuable input we get, Guy, is when we talk to our customers. So Alex Gorski, Ashley McAvoy, and our medical device leadership team are speaking with hospital administrators, understanding how they're seeing so-called surges, how they're managing it, and then most importantly, what we can do as Johnson & Johnson to help. So we've got a lot of input, and I think we've got pretty good insight as to where the future may reside. Now, in the second quarter, we saw about a 30 to 35% decline in elective procedures year on year. We anticipated that was going to be closer to 40 to 60%. So as economies opened, that was good for healthcare systems.
Well, as economies reopen, you really have a nice window seat for that. Is the worst over?
So, Alex, in our guidance this morning, we made the statement, much like we did in April, that we believed the second quarter was going to be the worst quarter that we would experience. We still have that same assumption today. If you just think about where we were at the end of March and early April and where we are today, a society, healthcare systems are much better equipped. We have 700,000 tests daily in the US alone. Treatment paradigms are much better in the hospitals. The percentage of somebody surviving COVID-19 after they've been intubated on a ventilator has dropped from 70% to 20% with respect to death. There's not massive discussion about outages for medical supplies. So I think we're in a much better position. And then you take on the economic factors. When we have isolation, it happens with more precision, and therefore we won't see the universal shutdowns that you might otherwise experience. We think that's critically important as a healthcare company because there is unintended consequences to deferring procedures too long, to deferring treatments. We know that's bad for patients' long-term health, as well as the cost to healthcare systems overall.
All right. So starting tomorrow, the vaccines will be.
I heard about all that.
There'll be some testing done tomorrow. The first phase starts tomorrow, so be interesting to see how this turns out. Only 1,000 people will be tested, so with this phase 1. So, and then phase 2, it starts to ramp up. I think to 3,000 people or more, and then phase 3. Phase 3 is usually about 10,000 plus. So we'll see how this works out. I don't know how they're gonna collect all this data, but they have their own methods. But anybody else have anything you want to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm highly suspect over the highly competitive but nonprofit that Johnson & Johnson, SC Johnson Wax, a huge corporation, is going to be working towards. I mean, I thank them for their help and their assistance, but getting these National Institute of Health grants and this could be walking out the door with a lot of money.
Well, there's no guarantee that they have the answer, right? Because
that's another thing. Everybody's going to be creating their own version to make a cash profit out of this thing, regardless of whether it works or not. That's what I'm kind of afraid of.
Yeah. All right. Let's
I just want to say I have to agree. I think the cash incentive on this is behind this, and this big corporation, Johnson & Johnson. I'm like MOT. I'm highly skeptical, but let's see what comes out of this. But I am a very skeptical. I'm going to say I'm very skeptical. Yes.
All right. Let me jump to the last item on the docket. This is from Bloomberg again. AstraZeneca COVID vaccine shows promise in early human testing.
About 3% yesterday, and the stock of the hours, AstraZeneca. Abigail Doolittle has more. So, Abigail, this is sort of positive results from this trial.
Yeah, we have positive results from the trial. A bit of a roller coaster for the stock relative to the stock in London at one point up 10%, now up about 1%. The ADR here in the U.S. on the news initially up 6%, now down. As for the news itself, positive results on this joint study by the University of Oxford and AstraZeneca. It's a dual response. So what's so important here, you both have antibodies coming out and you also have T cells. So basically, you have a defensive reaction and an offensive reaction from this vaccine. So initially, the stock popping higher, and actually it's up a little bit more relative to where it had been, at least in London, up about 4% at this point. The reason it's off the highs, it is an early stage study, so not surprisingly, more data needed, especially a larger study on human beings. And frankly, if you look back in history, the fastest vaccine to be developed in modern history, or recent history, I should say, is Ebola. That took 5 years. Mumps back in the 1940s took 4 years. So if we have a vaccine in a year, it's going to be really pretty incredible, a miracle indeed, in fact. But we do have a number of other stocks that are popping higher, or moving, I should say, relative to one of the companies in England as well. And I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly, but Synergen, a tiny, tiny company. They have shown a drug that lowers the need for a ventilator. These shares, if you can believe it, up 3,100% this year to a $365 million market cap. So still a small company, but soaring on this. IBO up 50% today. This on the results around AstraZeneca, the promise. Pfizer, of course, they have had positive results with some of their partners. And in fact, the UK has promised or taken on 90 million of doses of Pfizer's vaccine, along with some of these AstraZeneca doses, only from a preventative standpoint, defense, should they actually come to market. And of course, the hope is, but Moderna today, the big winner this year, but down today as JP Morgan downgrades to a neutral. Plus, if their rivals are doing so well, it might not be so great for Moderna. But you can see lots of stocks moving, all in hopes for the race for a vaccine.
Just on the news of it, look how these stocks are moving.
Oh, yeah.
And like I say, and this is why I say that if this stuff does not work, because, dude, Merck and Pfizer have been offering people for years in these so-called early trials that have these good results. And it turns out they've been hiding all the information of all the bad results and only promoting the good results within these trials. Like I said, man, dude, just let it take 4 years to create a damn vaccine, man. We don't need to be skipping over the process, end up making companies a whole bunch of money, and it end up not working and putting people in far more risk and danger. It's going to be bad. And one of these people is going to mess up really bad by doing this type of stuff.
Yeah, my perspective.
Go ahead, Mike. No. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying my perspective is that you shouldn't be allowed to say anything until you actually have, an actual phase 1 test started.
Yeah, I mean, because that's a de facto commercial to sell the stock.
That's exactly what that is. It's a stock promotion. It's to get their stock up. It's about making money right now. Listen, I'm not against people making cash. I'm not against it, but to front run this game like they're running here makes me suspicious. So, as I said, I hope they do have something good coming through on this, but I myself am highly skeptical, and I think many others are as well. And I'm with MOT on this all the way. Unfortunately, it is oh boy. And who knows what that vaccine is going to really look like. What's this thing really going to do? And who's really going to, well, we'll look at the tests. The Chinese actually have said that they have a vaccine. The Chinese have said that they have one. And a few others are trying to say that they have one. I think Mike, didn't the Cubans say they have kind of a vaccine as well?
The Cubans have a treatment.
They have a treatment
for COVID. They have a treatment. They already exported it to China and Russia. So, and they've also exported it to Iran, if I remember correctly. And so,
okay, I think the Russians saying they have a vaccine or something like that. Didn't they come up saying something crazy like that?
Yeah, well, they have something, but keep in mind that this, Cuba and Russia and China, they never stop talking, right? They've always been working behind the scenes in terms of biomedical research and development and stuff like that, because they can't import a lot of drugs, and so they've had to cultivate their own stuff. And so in Iran and Sudan and many of these countries that are on the U.S. blacklist all have the same issue. So if they can't get the drug, they're gonna have to come up with an alternative. And that's why we talked about supply chain pharmacrypt last week about drugs needing to be protected. But these countries are not so much as bad countries, but they've been blacklisted and they can't get access to the drugs. So they rely on countries like Cuba and Russia and China to actually come up with their own alternatives.
Yeah, it's a fancy word for black market.
Yeah. Well, not so much as black market, because Cuba is relatively resilient in terms of biomedical research. They've been, that's what keeps them afloat right now. It's an $11 billion industry for them. So they've been able to cultivate a lot of things internally without the help of the United States. And so, which is why they produce the most doctors and nurses. in the West. And so what I'm saying here is that we don't get a whole lot of information about what Cuba's doing, even though we know that they're doing something. The United States, man, you know, you got these big companies. Well, we're doing phase 1 on TV, on a news interview. You know, thanks for telling everybody. You know, you shouldn't be allowed to do things like that. I think that should be illegal.
They were doing the same thing during the Iraq War. How these people from Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman would come on TV and talk about the new stuff they're gonna be dropping out there. Like, what is this?
All selling. So they're selling stock price going up, all this on that news. It's making money. It's a big money maker for them. That's why I say I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious. Hopefully something good is going to come out of this. But right now, at the bottom line is the money. Money's being made right now.
Yeah, and you know, you still have people in the manosphere saying this ain't real. This is all planned out. Look, you know, look at look at this docket right here with this vaccine that goes to the vaccine court. You know, no, well, you know, these guys come in there.
Like, and there's another person who said that they're intentionally trying to shut down the economy so the president won't get reelected. I'm like, what? Wow.
That's pure idiocy, man. That's what these guys are spending. They don't have any other answers, so they got to spend something crazy. So that's what these guys are spending. Absolute idiocy, foolishness, and like Mike said, guys coming on talking all kind of conspiracy theories and talking like, "Oh, what they go for the panel." You know, don't worry about it. You ain't. You know, so it's just it's total craziness that's going on now.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey, what's going on, bro?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, man?
No, yeah.
Hey,
man?
I think you guys throwing me under the bus over there, man. You know?
What are you talking about?
It's got an attractive trailer there, but anyway, keep it moving.
Well, no, recently there actually was a court case that came down that was filed by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Del Bigtree, if I can, that actually proved there is no safety standards. There's no benign safety proof that any of the mandated vaccines that are currently mandated by our government, HHS, CDC, FDA, there's zero safety proof. This just came down. This is actually law. This is actually case law.
You mean like?
This is case law.
You mean like since you said it the last time, it came down again?
Come again?
I said since you said it the last time.
No, this is a lawsuit filed back in 2018, and they just recently won this against the United States government.
Okay.
They actually prove that that Big Pharma has provided zero benign safety testing on any of the vaccines that they recommend. Basically meaning that there's no concrete evidence that these vaccines are safe. This has been proven in a court of law. So I'm not coming out my ass just saying.
Wait. Why don't they have different levels of testing then? If efficacy is not part of the process, why would they have different levels of testing?
I think we're getting off base on that question.
It's totally related. What are you talking about?
The very fact that there is case law that can be cited against the safety of these vaccines, that pretty much put the nail in a coffin, man. Look up. I posted. There
are different levels of testing right now to test the efficacy of the drug. Like, if what you're saying is true, there's no need for different. Hold on. Don't filibuster.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. I ain't filibustering nothing, man. I don't want to filibuster nothing, man. Get your point out.
Okay, so if this was true, what you're saying, there would be no different levels of testing. That would just be like, hey, why test? We're gonna make a whole bunch of money off of this, and we could just put it on the actual shelves. So there has to be different levels of testing to test some type of efficacy and actual safety.
But they
That's what
have
the different
different
levels of the test
standards.
about.
They have different standards. They do not have to meet the same standards that most pharmaceutical drug makers, because vaccines are classified differently. They're not classified as drugs. They have to meet completely different standards.
Why would
Completely
they do
different.
different? Why would they do different levels of testing if they could just
It's
release
because
the
it's
product?
about liability. It's about liability, man.
Okay,
So
how do you decrease liability? Okay, okay. So you keep walking down and making my point for me.
by creating a separate court that you cannot go and sue a vaccine manufacturer directly. You can't do it. You have to go through a separate court that's actually sponsored by the United States government, and they actually have set aside funds every year that they have actually paid out so far close to $4 billion to families that have vaccine damaged kids, have proven to be vaccine damaged. Look
Now
at
we're
the
back
case
to the
law.
vaccine court thing.
No, what I'm saying is look at the case law. I'm not spitting anything. See, the thing is, if you just outright just completely ignore and think I'm speaking cuckoo stuff without
What case? What case is this? Do you have a link to it?
Yeah, I put it in the chat. I put it in the YouTube.
Yeah,
What case?
All I'm getting to is if you pretty much completely outright dismiss it without doing any investigation whatsoever, that's the height of ignorance. That's the height of ignorance.
But they have different levels of testing.
wait. I just got to respond to this. Did you read what the case was about? Because you definitely didn't read what the case was about. Okay, what was the case about? What it was one class of vaccines. It was one class. You came on this panel and you said repeatedly that all vaccines have no safety standards. Brother, I'm listening to what you said. I read what I let you talk. I read what you put in the chat, and that was the vaccines that they give to children before they become the age of 1. There's a whole class of those. Now, what you're saying, I'm not denying that they have the suit has been there and outcome, but when you come on the panel and you say all vaccines have no safety standards, all vaccines are just a bunch of garbage, it is not true. I'm sorry. You gotta if you're gonna present something, you gotta have facts, which are evidence. You presented one factor, one caseload of things that you got to read what you presented. I can read it to you if you want me to read it to you.
No, you don't have to read it. I can read just fine.
Okay. So therefore, that's what I'm talking about.
But the thing is, look, I'm just putting up information, man. And get this. Get this. If you don't recognize that there's an economic incentive for these companies to produce these vaccines, and the thing is, even if they do, they have no liability. Even if they do cause harm to people, they have no liability whatsoever. None whatsoever.
My man.
You go into. I mean, come on. I have listened to you. I have listened to you. I have read. See. I'm one of the ones who reads your stuff. I asked for the case, and I actually went and read the case. Okay, so it's like you said, black people don't read. I'm black, and I read the thing, and I asked you, did you read the thing? Because so if you read the thing, how are you coming here? How are you coming? Okay, did you read the facts of the case?
Yes.
Okay, what was the facts of the case?
This is the facts of the case. They demanded relevant government documents proving that all federally approved vaccines have been tested for quality over the past 32 years.
Right, and for which class? Not all.
None of that evidence was provided.
Not all.
None of that evidence.
Because you're not listening. You said all. It's not all. Read what it's a narrow band, because that would say that the polio vaccine and all the other vaccines and were
Have you done
garbage.
any research? Have you done any research on the
I don't
polio
have to.
vaccine?
You provided the case. I read the case.
Listen, if you even look at the inserts of these vaccines, they actually show you. They actually say may cause epileptic seizures, may cause autism. These are side effects. These are known side effects that the big pharma actually put on.
Do you know that all drugs have side effects?
But the thing is, bro, they are putting thimerosal, which is mercury, the most second toxic substance on this earth. They're putting recombinant mutant human DNA in these vaccines. They're putting pig blood in these vaccines. They're putting nickel in these vaccines. They're putting known toxins in these vaccines.
Well, I have a question for you.
And you expecting this
with everything that you just said?
Yeah.
If all of that is true,
it's
how
true.
do they?
It's not if it's true. It is true.
Okay, I'm assuming that it's true. How do they know that it causes all these side effects if they haven't tested it?
Welcome to the Brain Trust, fella. Welcome to the Brain Trust, baby.
Bro, they have a margin. They have a margin error, right? And the thing is, check it out. Even the CDC back in 2014, they actually hid that there was a percentage increase in Black boys getting autism from the MMR vaccine. They hid that data.
Please provide studies.
For sure.
Yes. Okay.
Hey guys, I just made it to the gym. I'll post that information into the chat. Yeah, most definitely.
I'll post that information to the chat.
Listen, I'm not no Alex Jones conspiracy theorist. None of that, man. Like, I go off of scientific fact. I go off of what the pharmaceutical industry are putting on their vaccine flaps. All of these so-called side effects are the effects of taking the vaccine. They're not side effects. They're what happened when you put the vaccine in your body.
Everything has risk, but you have to test to see what the risks are. That's what the testing is about.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I know. I love the conversation. I love the conversation. It keeps me active and it keeps me breathing.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, guys.
Oh man,
all right,
time to go, brother. Time to go, man. Good seeing you.
Have a good one, man. Y'all have a good
one. Yeah. Time to go. All right, man. Time to go.
These guys give me a headache. I really do.
Nah, man. Hey, listen. These guys come up in here.
No, hold on. He's still here. He's hitting the weights. Okay. Dullah, what are you hitting today? Dullah?
Oh shit, my bad. I don't go. It's boxing workout tonight, man. Boxing workout.
All right.
Boxing workout.
Yep.
Right,
Been doing it 25 years, man.
Okay.
All right. Hey guys, take it easy, man. Appreciate having me on.
All right. Get it in, man. Hit it hard.
Yeah, man.
I think they come here to try to confuse us, because I've read the thing. He posted it, and that's why I enjoy it, because I was reading the thing.
Mm.
I mean, but I just want to see
the whole
basic logic. Whether or not he knew that testing meant actually testing, and that's how you get to see these side effects. You only get to see the side effects if you test. And it's like, okay, let's see if this guy actually knows that's how you get to see the side effects is by testing and see what the actual effects of the cause is on people. That is called testing, and they test before they put it out in the market. So I'm like, if they're just purely for financial incentive and there ain't no consequences for not testing, why the hell wouldn't they just put it on the market?
You gotta understand, guys that come to the Brain Trust. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna disrupt these dudes. I'm gonna tear them out the frame. Hence you see what happens. But I would just say coming with the real hardcore facts. Don't come in here trying to mess around. It's not a safe environment for that. Have the facts. Have the facts.
No, man, but I turned the tractor trailer around, man. I gave him them tandems again, man.
Yeah, man. At least you didn't spin the tires on it. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry to jump in the panel like that, but I'm just getting on my nerves again.
No, Torch. I'm not gonna call you Torch. I'm gonna start calling you a flame.
He gave us a thumbs down. That's hilarious.
He gave us something that
Thanks, bro.
All right. Anyway, that's that was pretty good. Anyway, all right, that was a good one.
Now, I really wanted to get his take on what's the justification for all these bodies in the morgues, man. In these reefer trailers, man. In New York, when this was going down, like, you know, there were people that were being sent home that were sick. They had all the symptoms of the virus. So, what do you say to those people that this is fake and you shouldn't take anything from the pharmaceutical companies because they're capitalists?
You know what? They still don't understand how the system works. They really don't. I mean, I try to reason with them. I try to say, this is a capitalist society, right? And the government does things, and they give incentives to these companies to go out and do things. They got a thing called orphan drugs that they give like money to, so you can the specialty drugs and things like that, and allow these companies to make this money on, and they still don't get it. We talk to them, we try to explain things, and they seem like go in one ear and go out the other. I'm at a loss, man.
No, I mean it doesn't go in one ear. You know, it bounces off the side of their face like pong. Oh my God.
No, I mean you have to engage people who bring this sort of information here. We can't just dismiss everybody, right? But like I said, I mean, how do you explain all these people in Italy? I mean, all those deaths out there. I mean, they got, I mean, ransacked. I mean, what about Iran? Iran got hit by multiple
waves.
Yeah.
Russia, Brazil, India is getting really destroyed now. It's just crazy. Brazil, they seen a picture. If you looked at the New York Times, they showed of a city in the jungle, Manaus, and all you see is coffins. It's crazy.
What you're starting to see now is is this sort of people who are showing, they'll show you the back of a dollar bill and they say, look at the pyramid and look at the eye,
We're all seeing Eye of Horus.
Next thing you know, they're just talking about Bilderberger groups and stuff. Like, come on,
man. We got a person in the chat who says, you all can't be serious, shaking my head. When you get caught using mannequins in Florida hospitals and still believe in this 100%, you're delusional. Keep listening to fake news and funded articles. Well, I'm not in Florida, so I don't know. But when I came back to the United States, the bodies were starting to pile up in New York. And so I don't know about Florida, but those weren't mannequins in New York, man.
And Houston, no. What are those? Those are mannequins too? And
mannequins?
Arizona.
Are you sure this is not a mannequin writing us right now?
Oh, right.
An alpha mannequin.
And look, they just hammering us with downvotes now because we won't go with that.
Nah, we're not going with the conspiracy theories and the bullshit. Come in here with the facts. Let's go with that. I mean, that's a big part of the problem that we have with this whole coronavirus. Is the factual information has been obfuscated by such ridiculousness and conspiracy theories and foolishness, and I have to blame this literally on the White House, straight down to the least common denominator here. We have not, the information has not come down here properly. We've let a lot of craziness go on. Other countries are finding us pariah. The Americans, well, we ain't really want you in here like that. You guys haven't tested. We've squandered every opportunity we've had to really deal with this disease properly. Mm-hmm. And we're left here scrambling, looking crazy. We're looking crazy. And this is exactly how the country is. We're a country with a lot of resources, but a lot of crazy fucking people in here. And this is the kind of response we've gotten. So people are mad about that. I understand, but get your facts right, man. If your facts are bullshit, don't come rolling around because
but he made the same points he made last time. They were wrong then, and it was like, oh, it's It's a study in 2018. I'm like, but you was up in here a couple of weeks ago. You said this shit. And it was wrong.
He said, well, I know about this. This thing is really going on. I said, well, what are your sources? The Medium and all that. I'm like, what? I mean, when you hear guys coming in, blah, 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 you know, talking crazy like that, Medium, what the fuck is that? I could put a story on Medium and make it sound like a fact. I mean, what are you guys talking about? So that's what they're upset about. You know, the Illuminati and all this kind of crap. These guys are all into this, and you know, this is the zeitgeist. This is a zeitgeist of today, and this is something that we have to get to counter some of that. You got to counter some of that with facts.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if it's really relevant that, you know, this whole, you know, safety and vaccines and whatnot. Why now all of a sudden is that, you know, is that even a concern, right? You know, for these people.
Oh, you don't know why? Oh, it's quite simple. They don't want people to take the vaccines because they think they're trying to kill everybody. So they don't want Bill Gates and the whole cabal is trying to kill the population. That's what this conspiracy things. And so really, so I said, so what happens if so you're going to do like Sweden and try to do herd immunity and wind up killing all your senior citizens? You know, I'm trying to figure out what are you talking about?
Well, we have a person in the chat who says, CBS News, I will get the proof. Look how Nagone automatically dismisses it. Some of you can't be saved. Nagone can't be saved according to this person.
Well, I guess I can't be saved too, Nagone. I'm like you and
Nagone, 11, highly finished.
Yeah,
I'm highly finished. They don't like me. And what are they saying about? I said something about CBS News. I never said anything about CBS News. What's this person talking about?
Well, he says, "Wow, so everything is a conspiracy theory to you, right? I can tell Nagone has done no independent research. This has nothing to do with conspiracy theories."
Son, these guys, these are some of the most ignorant bastards that ever fell from a woman.
Hey,
No. Listen. Let them direct all the anger towards me because I'm the one who's disputing all that stuff. I told them, send it to me. I'll read it, and then I'll prove that what you're saying is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I read and study stuff consistently. That's all I do. I despise ignorant fucking bastards. That's why when you come here, I got nothing but a foot for your ass. So at the end of the day, I understand you guys don't like coming up here and getting a foot in your ass. But that's where we're at. If you don't like me, I don't give a fuck. The bottom line is you better come up here with facts. Don't sound like don't come over here with some blogger information talking about like you know what's going on. Don't come in here like that. You gonna go out like you came in, like a fucking asshole.
So you know where they get it from. They get it from Reddit.
Let's keep the facts straight. Yeah, Reddit. But this is what these guys are coming in here with. These are what these guys are coming in here with. Maybe I don't say anything that I am not absolutely sure about. It's been researched by very credible sources. I'm not coming out here on some internet bullshit. You know, if I have my own opinion, I may say it's my own opinion, and that may only stand just for what I may have to say about something. But I'm not going to come out here and talk all that crazy. My deal is history, facts. I'm older than most of you cats out here. All right. And that's the game. All right. Been through a lot of education. I see what's going on. I'm not caught out here in this craziness like a lot of you kids are running around here talking crazy. Motherfuckers here talking crazy.
And
so let's keep it real. Okay, go ahead, man.
No, and the thing about it, you know, when I go back to school, when school ever goes back, right, for the finish up, you know, they're gonna make all the students get vaccinated because there's no way they're gonna let us back into that university, and we don't have them shots. So that's why I know these guys are really not educated because if they knew that you got no choice. If you don't have all the shots, they'll make you take them right then.
Yeah, just like it's like the flu. So I just think that I mean bro Truth is still in the chat.
Oh, he's still talking. Let me see what he's saying. Hold on.
Yeah, but you know,
I'm already out of this. I don't even know the article. He doesn't literally wait for someone to give give him the article. I'm speaking on this already. No. What?
Yeah.
No. You have a specific group of trolls coming here tonight. They ain't shit. They got no facts. They're stupid as fuck. And I say, get your big dumb ass up in here and present your facts. You come in here with medium, or you come in here with something else like that, I'm gonna turn you around, doggy style your ass up, and throw the biggest foot up your ass you've ever fucking seen. Now that's what you deserve. If you're a troll, come on up here. If you're not, get the fuck up out of here.
I'm gonna start zapping them again. I'll start zapping them again.
Y'all getting ready to get torn
violating, unless they're violating YouTube policy, let's leave them be.
No. I'm not blasting these guys, but get up on the panel, man. Come on. Get up on the panel and present your facts. Where your facts are? I read anything. I read anything? What you've read. Let's come up here and see what you got. Where are you? Where they at though? Where they at?
All I said to this guy was, please provide the study about the CDC. I'll read it. That's all I said to him.
He doesn't have it. He didn't have it.
But you gotta understand, man. Like when people Noogle and Wikipedia fucking information, man, they forget about all the links and shit. You know, they remember everything. It's like links are just not there. What you talk about? I don't understand how that is. Wikipedia, though, man.
Mm-hmm.
Look it up. And Noogle. Yep. Two sources of niggable information.
All right, man. Let's get out of here, man.
All right.
Shalom, everyone.